Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Today, I have a special guest. Like I tell you guys all of the times, it's the rank and file folks, the people on the ground that make things happen. Don't believe what you hear about these executives or these big shots. It's the people on the ground doing the work. I'm honored to have Kevin Higgins Jr. How are you doing, Kevin?
Hi, how's it going, Alberto? Good to
I
be
am
here.
doing great. Let me tell you, a newspaper article came out titled, Workers with Harris County's Nonprofit Mental Health Provider Seek to Have Union Recognized. Let me tell you, Kevin, I'm one of those people who believe every rank and file worker should belong to a union. Tell me a little bit about what you guys did at the Harris County Mental Health Provider. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so about 10 to 12 months ago, we reached out to CWA
Mm-hmm.
and we started discussions on how we were going to create our union. We've been in touch with our organizers at CWA, and we've been collecting signatures for the last, like I said, 10 or so months. And we've designed a union logo. We've met with, Rodney Ellis and Lena Hidalgo, and we have a lot of support in the local political community. We're kind of building a little ecosystem here where we can get leverage to kind of state our case and get what we want.
Now, according to the article, you guys haven't seen significant increase in the wages and benefits over the last 20 years or so. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I think we got a slight, like 40 cent raise last year. It's not significant. It's not adjusting for the cost of living and the inflation that we're experiencing, and kind of burden as workers to kind of suck it up and take it. But yeah, a lot of workers have been here for 20 years and have not received a significant raise or received any kind of expansion of benefits, for instance. Like it's becoming a problem because we're being sort of priced out of the same community that we're serving.
That is amazing. That seems to happen all the time. Now, this is the Harris County. This is a nonprofit. Is that correct?
Yeah. So it's kind of a weird situation because they like to use the term nonprofit when it sort of benefits them, but really we're an apparatus of the county. We're like I guess that's a good question because, like I said, they like to use they like to use certain language when they don't have money. Oh, well, we're a nonprofit. We can't afford these increases, but they have access to government funding. They have access to state funding. They have access to federal loans, and they can, if they wish to, file for them.
Now, the
But
Harris County, the Harris County, the Harris Center for Mental Health, you guys have 2,000 workers. And I imagine if you take a look at it, I imagine the executives that run this particular quote unquote nonprofit, they never suffer not having their high wages, correct? The executives of this organization.
Yeah. So the executives, so it's interesting you say that because they have not been transparent in their salaries. We haven't seen in 8 years. 8 years they have not disclosed what their salaries are, what their bonuses are, and a lot of people are a little frustrated by that because transparency would be nice in this situation. If everybody had to share the burden of pulling up ourselves by the bootstraps and tightening our belts, that's one thing. But you can't ask people to do that while simultaneously not disclosing your salaries or your bonuses. So
Absolutely. Now,
yeah.
what services does Harris Center for Mental Health provide to the Harris County community?
Yeah, so we're the largest mental health provider in the state of Texas. So we serve a lot of people. We do everything from crisis intervention, IDD and autism services, emergency mental health services. That's where I work at the Neuropsychiatric Emergency Center and Stabilization Center. Case management. We do jail diversion and kind of jail rehabilitation. Oh boy, the services seem to be endless. The longer I work here, the more programs I learn about that we're involved in. It's endless. It's a
So
lot of work.
it's
Yeah.
extensive. It's a necessary service, especially in these times when we have a lot of mental health issues with our population. And it's not just the Harris County population, it's the population of the United States at large. Now, interestingly, uh, people have been trained, they have been indoctrinated over the last several decades, probably 40 years or so, actually more. I don't know if you know, there's this stuff called the Powell Memo that has been trying for decades to, well, it's a blueprint to try to disenfranchise people. They don't quite define it that way. And one of the things were to malign unions. And for the longest time, unions have been maligned. And the people that would benefit the most from unions have been convinced that unions are not good
Yes.
for them. That's why
Oh
I
boy.
was so
Yeah.
excited when I saw the work of a young person like yourself actually engage your workforce to ensure that you got enough signatures to make forming a union a reality. Tell me about how you accomplished that.
Yeah, so we worked very closely with CWA, and we have a lot of great people within our own organization, and we kind of like set this foundation work for networking, setting up forms of communication, message boards, getting the word out within the workplace, and then kind of like having workshops about how to meet and reach people at work, and kind of like kind of just the do's and not to do's of approaching people about forming a union. And there was a lot of work, a lot of meetings that went down, and we kind of had to kind of organically create this environment so we could do the work, you know.
Now, what kind of pushback did you get from the executives?
So far, um, there's been a lot of like double speak, kind of like, oh well, we don't think a separate organization should be getting in between us and our employees.
Of course.
There's a lot of like famous tropes that
Right.
like a lot of like anti-union tropes that kind of get thrown out there. Um, I want to, yeah, there's a lot of like that kind of language. I haven't experienced anybody confronting me about my union activity or participation, but I know that some of my colleagues, brothers and sisters, have felt some of that. But I can't personally myself speak to like individual, any altercations. But yeah, so I think we have seen some statements publicly by Wayne Young, who's the CEO, uh, basically kind of doing like a double speak, kind of not wanting to really, um, not wanting to address the issues that we're presenting, saying things like, "Oh, well, I have an open office. My door is always open.
Of course.
Anybody can come in." But we know that dynamic, there's a power dynamic, there's a power imbalance in
Right.
that
Well, the fact of the
situation.
matter is, if they really cared, they wouldn't have left you guys hanging for decades without a pay
Mhm.
a substantive pay increase. Now, one of the advantages you guys seem to have over, let's say, unionizing many other places is that you had the actual support, or it seemed to me like, based on what I'm reading, you had the support of Lina Hidalgo and Rodney Ellis. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. Yeah, we had kind of a little press event with the media on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a Houston Chronicle article about that. And they were really gracious with their time and were able to, it's great having people like that back us.
Judge Lina Hidalgo and Commissioner Rodney Ellis.
Rodney Ellis, yes.
I mean, and that is so important, that a part of government comes in and say, yes, we are standing up for the people, and that we know how the system have left many so aggrieved. Now, if you had first of all, like I said earlier, many people have been indoctrinated into a false belief that unions are not good. What advice would you give to somebody who wants to do what you and your team has done at the Harris Center for Mental Health, to start a union? Like I said before, corporations have unions. They call them trade unions. They call them all kinds of, the metallurgy union, all these things where they get together so as a force they can attain something. In your case, they try that to make employees not do that. What would be your advice, first, to convince the employees that unions are a necessary thing, and secondly, have the courage and the fortitude to do it?
Yeah, so one thing that unifies all of us is we all have a boss and we're all workers, So when you can kind of get down to kitchen sink politics and talk to people about their day-to-day issues, like the price of gas, price of all these amenities that have gone up, and you explain to people in basic terms that, like, if we get a union, our pay is going to significantly increase, and we'll actually have a seat at the table, and we'll be able to democratize our workplace. So when people hear things like democratize your workplace, pay increases, expanded benefits, people are a little more receptive, because there's, like you said, there's been this campaign for the last 40, 50 years, before Reagan, I'm assuming,
right.
of anti-union sentiment within our political discourse. But yeah, I mean, when you just break things down item by item, talk to people about day-to-day stuff, and they tend to relate, they like the idea of a democracy at work,
It is so important, Kevin, and that is what's so exciting. And when I tell you, I am genuinely excited, because for all the things that we promote, and that is people taking command of their own lives, people taking command of their own personal economies. That is what you have done. That's what you all have done collectively, which is, I think, one of the most important things to do, to give people hope, to give people, to make sure that people know we can't empower them, because they're already empowered. They just need to use said empowerment, like you all did, to get the job done. The last question I always ask is an easy one, but yet a hard one. What would you have liked me to ask you that I didn't?
Gosh,
I told you.
Oh my gosh, Alberto, you were very thorough.
I won't hold it on. I won't hold you to it, but I just want to say that, just in case there's something else that you wanted to get out, but I'm glad that you got all that you wanted to get out. Kevin Higgins, a hospital transfer coordinator and organizing committee member that got the job done. It was my pleasure to have you on Politics Done Right, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.